Alright, so for number 2, we have an environment diagram, and according to these 8 lines of code, we have to fill in the blanks of every single frame. Alright, so we already have the first line filled out for us, and that's base equal to ball. And then for the second line, we have some really long lambda function. So that is going to be set to batter. Right. And notice that what is different from a regular function and the lambda function is that you specify the line it's on. And that helps us to distinguish two lambda functions because they don't have a name. So if you have like a lambda on line 1 and line 2, then we can distinguish between which one is which. Okay, next we have mailer. And notice that mailer is set to the call expression batter mail to. So until we figure out the value of this call expression, we can't set mailer to anything yet. So we're going to open up a new frame, and batter is actually pointing to this lambda function that we just defined. So we're going to write lambda line 2 parent equals global. And remember that the parent is global because we defined it in the global frame, not inside any function. Alright, so with any function call, I'm going to load the parameters, and the parameter of this lambda function is called base, and since we passed in mail to, that becomes base. And then this whole lambda function, the outer lambda, is going to return the inner lambda. So we're going to draw an arrow and then write func lambda ball, also line 2. And now, since we're defining in frame 1, it's going to have the parent of frame 1, not global. And then we know this return value is also what mailer is going to get set to. So we can draw an arrow pointing to this function. Right, so next we have the function ball. And I'm just going to write the function header. Okay, and we're not going to go into the code itself yet, the body of the function, but now when we actually call ball, we get to go into the body of the function and open up a new frame. So we're going to call ball. Its parent is global again. And now we're going to load its parameters. So we have batter as base, and base is pointing to ball. Don't get confused with this base because the parent of this frame is actually global. So we cannot look into frame 1. We have to look directly into global itself. So batter here is pointing to base, but base is ball. Okay. And edu is going to be berkeley.edu. Okay, and now for line 5, we have adder is equal to batter plus at plus edu. So we're just gonna combine the two things, or I guess 3 things, including the at sign, and we have ball at berkeley.edu. And now we're going to print batter plus got mail. You don't actually have to write this on the environment diagram because this is all about keeping track of the frames and the variables and things like that. And the print statement is actually just going to generate an output. But we don't really have anywhere to write that right now. in this environment diagram. But if this would were a what would Python displayed question, then you would write that as the output. Okay, so moving on to line number 7, we have return mailer of adder. So remember that mailer is a function, so we have to call mailer and figure out what that value is, and then we can return it. So we're going to open up a new call expression, a new frame, and we see that mailer is pointing to this lambda function over here. So we're going to call that. Okay. So for this lambda, we pass in ball, and the ball that was passed in is adder. And adder of that frame was going to be this one, this string. So we can load that as a parameter. And now it's going to return base plus ball. And we're going to see that in frame 1, which is the parent of the frame we're currently in, so frame 1 is the parent of frame 3, base is actually equal to mail2. So when we add base plus ball, we get mail2 ball at berkeley.edu. And if you're wondering why we didn't look inside the global frame, well, we first look at its immediate parent. So the immediate parent of frame 3 is frame 1. But if frame 1 were to not have any kind of base, then we would look in the global frame for what base is. So if, let's say, this line wasn't here, then we would look in global frame and see that base is actually ball. Okay, so this is the completed environment diagram. Oh, one last thing. We need to resolve this return value. So we had the return value of mail2 ball at berkeley.edu for the frame 3. So that also becomes the return value of frame 2. Alright, that's it for question number 2.